Okay, so this is our last video on Foucault. Um, and we're just gonna kind of wrap this thing up. But there's a similar kind of Harry Potter thing. I mentioned Wolverine, and I mentioned retconning, right? This idea that like can text be changed later on? What are the boundaries and borderlines of text, right? You think about, I mean, Jewish people really thought the Bible was done, and then here comes this whole Jesus section to add to it. But it doesn't just add to it. It's not just like here's the continuing story. Some of the stuff in the New Testament says, by the way, that stuff in the Old Testament, that snake, remember that snake? That's actually Satan, God's primary opponent. And that's not what it says in the book. Similarly, Wolverine has this moment where he says only a third of it happened and not like this, and it's rejected. There's a Harry Potter example involving a character named Nagini. So I'm going to let Mackenzie tell you about that.
Yeah, so the thing with Nagini is that in the books we all see this snake that Voldemort has and like really cares about in a creepy weird way that is a Horcrux and gets destroyed, spoilers, at the end of the series. And now in the new movies, the Crimes of Grindelwald and the ones about Newt Scamander, thank you. We learn that Nagini is actually a human woman who has been trapped in the body of a snake because of a curse. And there's a lot of controversy and conversation about that because, first of all, that makes it way creepier when the snake gets beheaded because you're thinking it's this awful snake this whole time. And, like, no, it's actually just a woman who is in this horrible trapped situation. And also, it's a Korean woman who plays this character. And is that weird? Because she is being subjugated in this really shitty position by a white guy, but also he really cares about her, and also he subjugates everybody. It's a really complicated and weird retcon thing that happened. And she says, J.K. Rowling tweeted that she knew the whole time, all 20 years, that that was the case for Nagini, which seems like then why would you write it in a way that makes us want her to die if she's an innocent victim of the situation? Complicated.
Yeah. And so this kind of the last example I wanted to have of just like the idea that again, you think you know what an author is, but there's a lot of people involved in getting a story out to the world, and that you think you know and you think you know where a book begins and ends, but can the author add to it at any time? And is it official? Does it count? Does it not? And not just add to it, because again, like the Bible, like Nagini, it's like it's adding like here's more story that you didn't know about, but it's also changing the nature of the story. Where you know when I watch that battle scene. I'm like, oh shit, Ron's mom or whatever kills Bellatrix, and I'm like, yeah, go get her. And then they behead, and that cute guy beheads the snake. Who's the guy that beheads the Neville? Neville beheads the snake. And it's you're cheering for them. But then when you go see the play or you watch the Crimes of Grindelwald, suddenly Bellatrix, like, she just had a baby. Like, that's a woman who should be convalescing at home with her newborn baby, and that's when Molly Weasley blows her up. Also, that snake, I guess, was a perfectly nice Korean girl, and it's not as fun to cheer when she gets beheaded, if that's her end of the story. And so it's not just more story, but how does it change the previous stories? Does it? Or do you get to say, no, I'm still going to cheer for that snake. It's not a person. It's just a bad snake. The snake in the Bible is not Satan. It's just a sneaky snake. And the last thing I kind of want to close with is a movie that I really recommend. It's kind of a sad, sweet movie. It's pretty sweet. It doesn't have a sad ending, but it's sad. It's called The Fall. And it stars Lee Pace, and I think I played a clip for it in class. That was the cute one with the little girls trying to in the hospital bed. He tells her a story, and she gets really wrapped up in the story. And you get to see this. The movie is the story he tells, and you get to hear the story he tells. But at the end of the story, he gets very upset. He gets very, very sad because he's having a lot of problems, and he gets very, very upset, and he starts killing off the characters because he's mad and he wants this to end, and he can't go on. And she says to him, this little sick little girl, and she says to him, did he really died? So did he really died? It's so sad. And he says, yes, he died. And then she starts crying, and she says, why are you killing everybody? and he's crying too. And he says, "It's my," because he's trying to like get her to stop caring about the story because her caring about the story has led to all kinds of problems, and he needs to stop now. And she says, "Why are you killing everybody?" And he's crying, and he says, "It's my story." And she looks at him, and she's also crying, and she says, "Mine too." And I think that's a stunning moment for thinking about this because it's not, you think it's the author's story, but it's also the fan's story. And that fans get to decide for a certain, they get to decide what's real and what's not in the story, what counts, what's canonical. Just like fans of the Bible decide which parts are the Bible. Um, and fans of Harry Potter get to decide what counts and what doesn't count, and what J.K. Rowling, they can be like, no, I reject that. That I do not think that Dumbledore is gay or whatever. It's made up of fans are determining what these stories are, which is complicated because it means you may be sitting in a movie theater with the guy next to you, maybe having a very different experience of the film than you are, because it's not even the same text. It has different beginnings, middles, and ends, and that fans are in some ways authors of these things. Just in the same way that editors put together a 4 hour long Hamlet, you are deciding what counts and doesn't count in the Harry Potter universe and the movies, and what's official and what's not. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Any final thoughts, Mackenzie?
I that makes me really happy to believe that I get to choose how this world exists for
Yeah.
Harry Potter specifically. That I get to be a part of the creation of it, and I get to say, no, this world is not a world in which there's no place for trans people.
Yeah.
I get to say, I grew up with these characters and I love them so much.
Yeah.
And that is still valid and still like the kind and beautiful space that I imagined it to be.
Yeah, and I agree also. I mean, for I think a queer Dumbledore makes a lot of sense, but I also wish that it had been part of the stories a little more centrally.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. So okay, guys, that was Foucault. I think we're doing a good job. There's not going to be any videos over spring break, but there is some information on the website. I'll post some things up on the website, but I'm not going to do like the serious videos and stuff. But I'll put some more information about Upload later, and have a good spring break, and check in with the blog whenever you want and read the instructions and all the bits. And I think that's it. Okay, I think that's it. Say bye, Mackenzie.
Bye.
Bye. All right.